When you're ready.
All right, I'm ready. Let's call over the meeting for North Canton City Council for November 25th. The opening prayer tonight will be provided by, or this afternoon, will be provided by Mark Soretta. Mark?
Sure. Lord, on this Thanksgiving Eve, let us be thankful for our community that you have bestowed upon us, the honor to represent your people of this community. Let us be thankful for the health and safety of the community during this trying times. Let us be thankful for the encouragement of the brighter future that you have in store for us down the road. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Member Soretta?
Here?
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Schroyer?
Here.
And Member Warren is currently absent.
Motion
We
to
have a
excuse
motion.
Member Warren.
Is there a second?
Second, Peters.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Member Waring is excused. All right, we have our next item on the agenda is recognition of visitors. The first up is Mr. Osborne.
Mr. Osborne, are you still with us?
I'm with you.
When you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. The failure to follow legislative deadlines in a timely manner should render North Canton's DORA legislation DOA. I would like to ask that this council not take advantage of the serendipity that now has been given you an advantage to pass the DORA legislation literally hours before the deadline imposed by state statute. As Council Member Soretta stated less than 48 hours ago, this proposed legislation needs to be returned to committee for more contemplative discussion. At the conclusion of Monday night's meeting, I had concerns as to the exact timeline of the 60-day deadline imposed by statute. Tuesday morning, I emailed a contact at the Ohio Liquor Commission for clarification. For some unknown reasons, an answer to my question was sent to City Hall. The answer to my inquiry has obviously led to this hastily called special council meeting. The DORA legislation should be allowed to lapse. Bring this idea back up after the pandemic has subsided and vet the proposal when it is safe for the public and council to have in-person meetings. As for the idea of a DORA in our bedroom community, I do not think it will benefit anyone, not businesses who serve liquor, not citizens, and not the community. I must say it is amusing to hear the swell of support for this utterly ill-advised idea. Scenarios in which people can have a drink while they wait to be seated at a table are laughable. Why would an individual want to pay $10 for an alcoholic drink and stand around outside when in a few minutes they can go in and pay half that amount and be seated comfortably inside? This does not represent what goes on in our town, and it never will. If an individual wants to have an alcoholic beverage at a local restaurant outside, this council has already addressed that with expanded outdoor dining to help businesses in this era of COVID. To erect more than 24 trash receptacles with special signage up and down Main Street at a cost to taxpayers of $10,000 is a waste of money. With revenue to the city of $1 for every DORA cup, sippy cup I should say, 10,000 DORA sippy cups would have to be sold just to break even. 10,000 DORA sippy cups would not be sold in a North Canton DORA in the lifetimes of all of us combined. In my October 12, 2020 remarks to this body before the first reading of this legislation, I pointed out that there have been no public meetings from the general public on this proposal. Doesn't anyone on this council want to hear from their constituents? Given some of the overtop remarks in support of this legislation from some members of council, I would say it is not helpful to fashion imaginary scenarios on how great this would be for North Canton. This is another tool in our toolbox, is a time-honored refrain I hear from many members of this council body, while members of council pat themselves on the back for their accomplishments. A DORA is not a useful tool for North Canton. This legislation would have died had it not been for a misdirected email that started with my question to the Ohio Liquor Commission a little over 24 hours ago. Maybe that was a sign to let DORA slip away. This DORA legislation does not warrant a special council meeting on the eve of Thanksgiving. Vote no on ordinance number 5520. And I will add here, since I made that remarks shorter this time, I think we are abusing these virtual meetings, because I have just heard that Mr. Peters is on the road. Who knows where? Virtual meetings do not exist, so council members can call in from other states, other countries. So I don't think Mr. Peters' vote should count at all, since he's already said he's on the road. And thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Tripp, you are next.
All right, can you hear me, Ben?
We can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, great job, Ben. That's a Thanksgiving for me. Thanks. Larry Tripp, 1127 East Maple, North Canton, Ohio. Yesterday, I sent a message to Councilman Soretta, which covered my personal follow-up to Monday night's council meeting. Louisville and Hilliard, Ohio were cities of my choice, since those were the two cities surveyed by the city intern. I did not see apple-to-apple comparison with these cities as how DORA relates to North Canton, Ohio. I believe DORA was made for cities like Louisville and Hilliard, whereas North Canton will need a great deal of revamping to be a fit for DORA. As far as Canton, Worthington, and other cities, I could care less. My concern is from North Canton, Ohio, to the possible consequences of DORA legislation. Another consideration that has not been discussed is the possibility of a safety center being built at the northernmost point of DORA boundaries. Yes, sir. A very enjoyable dining experience will be enjoyed as police, fire, and EMS vehicles with sirens blaring as they respond to their emergency call. Talk about a turnoff to casual dining as one tries to enjoy an evening on North Canton Main Street. As such, I will most emphatically stand by my email to Councilman Soretta. Later, that email was forwarded to all council members after learning of tonight's meeting. Thereafter, I received a scathing report from Vice President of Council, which so very much reminded me of character traits displayed by our current President of the United States. Agree with you, all is honky-dory. Disagree with you, it's goodbye. 4 years ago, I voted for our current US President. This year, no. 3 years ago, I voted for our current Council Vice President. Last year, no. Just proves to show it's never too late to learn. Please don't even bring up the subject of personal attacks. 5 minutes does not allow me ample time to respond. I am an 80-year-old United States veteran and a successful 30-year career. I have long learned to speak for myself and gather information as I see fit when I speak for the betterment of North Canton, Ohio. No, DORA is not for the betterment of North Canton, and I would urge all council members to join Councilman Soretta and vote this legislation down. As you just heard, I need no one to prepare my remarks. I'm a puppet to nobody. Unlike 2 or 3 council members who swing wildly as Councilman Revolt pulls the puppet strings. It's okay to vote no for DORA, some council members. My final remark on DORA is, let's show some respect to North Canton earlier residents who set the frameworks for this fine community. Don't try to make North Canton something that it is not and will not be first with all the facts. Let's see something for North Canton citizens to be thankful for this Thanksgiving season in regards to local government. Someone join Councilman Soretta with a no vote, and let's have a ripple effect in defeating this insane legislation. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public speaks recognition of visitors. Let's move on to our business. We have the third reading of ordinance number 55-2020. May I have a motion for that third reading?
Motion read by
Before
title
the-
only.
Before the motion is Councilman Warren joined the meeting.
Yes, I'm on. Sorry. I
Okay,
just said that.
just to
Very
make the
good.
note of
Let's have
that.
the minutes reflect that
Thank you.
Councilman Warren is present. All right, thank you, Doug. All right, I've asked for a motion to read for the third time, ordinance number 55-20
By title only.
by title only. Is there a motion?
Destroy
So moved.
Destroy moves.
Where in second?
Very good.
An ordinance establishing a designated outdoor refreshment.
We have to vote on it.
Oh, right. Yes. My bad.
Yay.
Yes. All in favor, say
Roll
aye.
call.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, clerk, read it by title.
An ordinance establishing a designated outdoor refreshment area in the city of North Canton under Ohio Revised Code Section 4301.82, approving related safety and sanitation plans and providing for oversight and review.
Very good, thank you. As you know, we have discussed this. I think it's important, again, in light of the comments that were made during the recognition of visitors, that we affirm on the record, or I do as the chairman of the committee, that the purpose of the DORA is threefold. The first is to boost existing local businesses. The second is to facilitate economic development at Hoover or elsewhere within the district. And I would remind council that we have a new restaurant that's coming in at the former Main Street Grill. And potentially there are 3 other restaurant sites that within the district that could benefit from this should they wish to pursue a liquor license. And I think the third thing that we want to do is we want to promote activity in our downtown. And we believe that that is important, particularly if we're going to attract younger residents and or events. It's interesting, and I'm going to come back to this in just a second, is we've looked at the DORA, and I've looked at 7 communities. A number of them the businesses within those communities have appreciated what the DORA has done to boost their business. And again, when we look at outdoor dining and we look at this particular addition to our economic development tools, I think it can be something that may help.
Can I use my cord?
And I would remind everyone that
You what?
this can be
Oh, sure.
reviewed periodically, and it has a 5-year sunset. So this is
Dave, I'm
not
not
something
quite sure
that
that's
will
gonna work.
run in perpetuity.
Because I don't have any more real out.
Mr. Revolt, we're getting background
I
noise.
saw the girls.
Yeah, I hear that.
I mean,
I
I
would
can
ask
plug yours
council
in, but it's
mute.
short.
Mute itself if it can. There we go. I think we're good now. So again, the purposes of this are very clear, and this is not a one-off. These are used in communities as small as Powell, Ohio, and as large as Canton, So again, communities have seen fit to provide the DORA, and they are achieving in those other communities the objectives that the city councils sought. What I'd like to ask council to do is take a look at section 7 of the proposed, the ordinance. Ben, do you happen to have that? This is the current language right now. And well, maybe before we go on, is there anybody who wishes to add anything before we move on? I'm going to propose an amendment here.
Yeah, Soretta does. I got a few.
Yeah.
A few, since I seem to be the Lone Ranger on this thing here. So I do have some notes, so give me some time. Let me go through this and before you respond here, because I got a few things here. And who knows, maybe other council members will have the same concern about this. So, but most of all of you know, I'm for a lot of cool things that promote, our establishments in our town, especially when it has to do with bettering our city to live, learn, work, and play. And I don't think at this time that this is one of those. Now, doors are meant for contained areas. We're squeezing liquor permits and forcing this neat idea into a mile stretch. And that brings a lot of other issues. And I've been contacted by a few businesses that don't have liquor permits, and they're not real happy with this either. I don't know if we've ever contacted the chamber and asked for advice from them if other businesses were for this or not. I don't know. But, to have a bunch of folks going up and down Main Street with liquor, no matter what kind of liquor it is, let's look at what someone with an open container of any kind of alcohol and what they would be doing. So what they'd be walking by as they stroll down Main Street with an open container of liquor in this long stretch. Okay, you've got 3 churches, you've got a grade school, you've got YMCA, City Hall, library, early childhood center. You got several banks and a lot of houses and small business that you're going up and down with any kind of liquor in as you move up and down this close to mile stretch. So everybody knows I'm sensitive also to the aesthetics of our town here. So these signs or trash cans, and I was sent an example of one, and they're not ugly, but they're not good looking up and down Main Street on every intersection. And if we only had a very small special event area like these things are designed for, like around the square and just maybe on the outsides here, I could see putting those things out. But up and down Main Street, that just doesn't seem to fit right into our town the way we are. Now, Ben got me some numbers, and we're talking about 20 to 25 cans, about every intersection here. And plus the signs that go on the can. So your total estimated cost of this is $18,000 to $19,000 from what Ben sent me. Now, is that a good investment? Because that's a lot of cups to sell. And I don't think that's going to really make the investment. I understand that's not the true investment. Daryl mentioned some things about economic development and so on, and I get that. But then you have to also, look at who's going to take care of those and empty all this. That's our guys that have to go up and down every day and empty those things. So there's an additional cost to that too. Also, since we're looking at this, if you look on page 4 of the DORA safety plan, the law enforcement section, and I'm going to paraphrase this, for the most part here. It says in number 2, it says North Canton officers will be contracted for services through the city by liquor permit businesses within the DORA, who shall pay to the city the full cost of providing the extra duty officers. Now, I should use a phrase from Joe Biden. Come on, are you kidding me? Are they going to pay for our services, our police going up mile up and down? Is that going to really dig into their their final profits? You think they're going to make anything on that? So the other side of it too, we did mention their brick sidewalks aren't really friendly for someone with a cup and a cell phone in one hand. And that's something we have to be careful about when you're looking at this almost mile-long stretch. So, you know, I would love to have a door area like this on our square where people can listen to music at our amphitheater at Bitzer. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe walk over and get a bite to eat at a restaurant, maybe hang out in front of the fountain, in front of the 144 apartments at the Hoover District. But that's not reality yet. And you know, all this comes down to what we want to be and what reality is at this time. So when I look at this stretched out area and the risks and the costs, they don't really make this feasible at this time. I think the idea is smart, but at this time, we are not set up for this at this time. So, you know, I don't know what we put the brakes on this and all of a sudden we came out with this in a major haste. You know, and haste makes waste, we know that. So I don't know what the hurry is with this. So what if it elapses? We're not ready for it anyways. So I'm asking to table this until it makes sense to have it. And those are my comments for the evening.
Anyone
Patrick,
else
you on
wish
the
to?
yeah, I just wanted to know, Patrick, so the way Mark explained it, is that how we envision this happening? People stretching down a mile, walking with their open container type of thing? Is that, I don't envision that happening at all, but I just want to know, is there something we're missing here? Like, it seems to me like this is just a tool that probably won't get used a whole lot right now. You know, like what Mark said, it's a little premature, but here's the thing. It's kind of like we're doing a whole bunch of new things, not just Dora, you know, but with the zoning updates, with concrete, with everything, sidewalks. We got a lot of things happening. It's just kind of going into the puzzle to complete the puzzle. I don't really see it being used like what you said, Mark, honestly. It's just kind of like an early stage thing so that as businesses think about moving in, and then once we have that, then I can see like a function or, you know, like even like, you know, if we close off part of the streets and we do something special, you know, and can't we modify the door for that within that stretch of space? I don't really see it just walking up the road with a drink for a mile to the next location. I don't see it being used that way at all.
Tom, if I'm not mistaken, once you put the door area in place and someone buys a drink at Pav's, they can walk throughout the door area. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, Pat or anybody who wants to chime in on that, feel free to give
Tom,
us clarity.
this is Daryl. Pat, before you go on, I took a look at Powell's Dora. All right. And in effect, it's set up much like Powell is set up much like North Canton. Its door is L-shaped, and from one end of the L to the other is a mile. Are the people who are at the top end of the Dora likely to walk a half mile or a third of a mile down to the rest of the Dora? The answer is no. I just don't think so.
I don't either.
Because the bulk of the activity is concentrated on State Route 750 in Old Powell. That's where it is. And when you look at what Powell has done is that it is encouraging people to come in and shop and, you know, participate in activities. And frankly, they're walking past many of the very things that we have in our town. They're part of that Dora, schools, etc. Small businesses,
Daryl, can I ask a question? Daryl, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Jeff?
Hey, I just have a quick question. I think once it finally is up and running and we're moving, I envision this more a site-specific tool. And if we have to, we can even go in and modify it, correct?
Yes.
So I don't see any issues with that. We're the legislators. We can restrict this as we see fit.
Hey, Daryl.
Stephanie?
Yeah. So if we needed to modify it, could we say if the square all of a sudden became developed, could we make it? Are you allowed to have 3 different doors where that would be one area, and then, or is it?
You get one, Stephanie.
Okay. Because I mean, I do agree with Mark. I mean, and I don't see people really doing it, but like Mark said, once you put it in place, people could just do what they want. And if they want to walk up and down the street, they can. And I don't see it used like that in other communities either.
Again, Stephanie, I took a look at PALS, and I did fairly active Google search. I didn't find reports of that kind of activity. In fact, candidly, the biggest problem was in COVID was they were having people who were too clustered along 750. That was their problem. But 750's become a gathering point. I mean, it's got restaurants, and this has helped those restaurants.
Yeah.
So they're managing their COVID safety.
Hey, Daryl, Dom here. So
Yeah.
basically, if we do this and it doesn't work out, and by the way, the containers, how are the containers getting paid for? Is that taxpayer money? Is that grant money? Is that money from something else?
That's the other thing, Don.
May I speak?
The restaurants.
Go
have to
ahead.
pay for that. And then,
I'll wait for Mr. Soretta.
well, the restaurants have to pay for that, and they have to join it. What if a restaurant doesn't want to join it? What if L. Cone says, I'm not doing that, I'm not paying that? Did we lose a liquor? Did we even ask those folks yet? Are we premature on this? And to make another point, because it's right there, just have to read it. If the legislation, you can't just change it later because you have to have the liquor places within the DORA. So you can't just cut Mama Gazzardi's out right now because you need them.
Right.
So you can't just change it later. We should do it
Here's
when
the
it
point
needs to be done, when it's the right time to do it.
Mark, we can eliminate this. If this doesn't work out at any
Why
time,
do it? Why do it if we
it
don't
can be
need it?
done.
That's what I'm trying
Well-
to rushing into this thing. All of a sudden, are we losing something by not doing it next year?
Yeah, I think we are actually.
What are we losing?
I think candidly, I'd like to see us use this to market Hoover.
We need all the tools.
There's
we
been
can
a
get,
lot
guys.
of talk about restaurants. There are these 2 pending permits across the street. I would like to, we've got the DRD in place.
We could
We've
do it
got
in
this
3
in
weeks.
place now.
We could do it
I
in 3
would,
weeks.
well, we don't have it yet, but I really would like to see us put this in, and candidly, again, if it doesn't work, take it away. If you have a problem, take it away. Fear should not be the reason we don't do something,
No, but you're
because we
going to
have the
invest.
power to eliminate the problem later.
You're just
Hey.
throwing money. You're throwing about 20 grand. That's one of the reasons why.
Let's hear
Mark,
Patrick.
listen,
Patrick.
hold on just a second, Mark. I'm not going to get into the frivolous expenditure of money.
Yeah, that's a government saying it's not a frivolous spend of money. Every bit of money is not frivolous when it's somebody else's.
Well, then
And we're just throwing
either
money in
this is-
different places. It's
either
not
this is a good
frivolous.
expenditure, or it's not. Okay, let's see. Mr. Foltz, do you have anything to add? Mr. Stroya?
I do. I mean, look, I understand some of the concerns, but this is easily edited. And right now, you look at what COVID has done to restaurants and bars. In my opinion, we've got to throw them any bone we can right now. So if we can set the framework for this by passing this today, I'm all for it. I think, we can always look at other communities, see what they're doing, see the problems, if there are any, of DORA. But from what I've seen, it's been a blessing to these bars and restaurants. So,
It has
I
been.
mean,
That's what
that's
I
what I
found.
say.
It's a blessing. That's my research indicates it's a blessing.
So here's the question, like what Mark said about the police officer paying extra money out of their pocket. If they're having a special event, where we have some live music or something, a special event downtown or something like that, then you could probably afford to have some extra coverage because there'll be a lot more activity downtown. But I don't see it like 24/7 every day of the week. It's just, again, an added tool like the CRA, the DRD, the zoning changes, the modifications we're making. This is all in preparation to create a nice vibe for downtown. I know change is hard, especially if you've been here for a long time and this was a dry area. But we have to look, further ahead beyond us. And I think we have nothing to lose by moving forward with this, honestly. And if we feel that this is a bad move or we made a mistake, we cancel the damn thing. That's the way we go with it. But I think it's a good tool, and I don't see a bunch of people tracking up and down the street. Hell, you don't even see them on the street now. I mean, we want to see a little more activity. And then as far as like, as more businesses come, we have more tools in the tool bag. Then at that point, we can talk about maybe slowing the traffic down and doing some other things, you know, if we have activities. But if we don't have any activities, and we're never going to have activities if we don't move forward and take a chance. You know, I don't see any downside to this. And it's, again, if we don't like it, we cancel it. We stop it.
Yeah, Darrell, I'll weigh in.
Go ahead, Doug.
Here with Pat too, but I think really what we're looking at is downtown. When I say downtown, it's the old Main Street Grill and the Hoover Complex, trying to track something there. I mean, it works in Canton because there's a true downtown area with establishments that you can walk around in close vicinity. And they close those roads down, as we know, on a first Friday. And I'm not saying North Canton's going to get to that level, but I think it's an opportunity where we can possibly look at some areas there to do those type of events. I think that's the win. That's the win. And listen, I probably talked hours upon hours on sidewalk policy, and it's still never worked out that the residents have taken advantage of it. So I think if you don't start somewhere, eventually, you're never going to get anywhere. And Mark makes great points, and everybody is, you know, I think can see the positive aspects of this if it's done right. You're not going to have people walking around with an open beer container unless it's a Dora cup up and down Main Street anyway. I mean, there is rules and regulations to this. So I'm willing to take a chance on it and refine it if we need to. I think we got to start somewhere.
I agree with
Okay.
that. Doug.
Is anyone else that wants to add anything at this point?
Patrick, tell
Mayor?
me about the cost of the trash cans and all that. Give me just a quick overview. If we got $20K, we got to invest. Is that what it is? Or are we getting any recycle money? Is there any way to get some of that covered?
I would love to be able to address the council. So first,
Thank
I would say, do you not recall that the Chamber of Commerce spoke and wrote a letter in behalf of the DORA that
I
the
do.
polling
Christina.
of their business members that they asked for that? So I think there was some concern at the beginning that do we even know what the chamber wants? I think the answer is that we just need to recall that.
I do remember
regards
Christina
to-
wrote that.
Yep. In regards to the police department and what's in the plan, yes, we anticipate for the worst case scenario, meaning the most demand for our services. So in the event that this would be a DORA, similar to, let's say this thing were to grow and become like a First Friday, where you have a lot of events or groups or things that are happening that would warrant extra police coverage, then yes, these restaurants that are scheduling live entertainment and things like that, they would have to pay for that. That's for sure. But as the regular day-to-day operation of this, if the council decides that they want this to be on Wednesday through Friday or Thursday through Sunday, whatever it is that the council decides the days and hours of the operation are on a regular basis, there's no extra requirement for police coverage in that. That is a non-issue. As far as walking up and down the street with a Dora cup in your hand, I guess I just don't see it the same way. If Mr. and Mrs. Diorio want to get a glass of wine and take it out and walk up to wherever we go, long as we're within the DORA, I just don't see what the fear is that the Diorios were to do that. If the fear is that somehow this is going to contribute to a drunken frenzy and people are going to get smashed and then go outside and carry on and cavort and drink and slosh all around, I mean, the evidence doesn't show that in any community, and we certainly wouldn't tolerate that here. As far as the vendors go, the vendors are not required to participate. Yes, we have talked to the paths, to the Howling Bird, to the Mama Gazzardi's, and yes, they're in favor of this. They would love this. Do they have to participate in it? No, they don't. But they're eligible to participate in it, and they will be notified by the Department of Liquor Control that they are eligible and what the rules and guidelines are regarding from the Ohio Liquor Board what they can and cannot do. So it's not even anything that we have control over. It has to do with them retaining their liquor license and the things that they are being responsible and held accountable for. As far as the costs go, yes. So I tried to do the right thing. Apparently it may not be interpreted as such, but tried to understand what the aesthetic look was for North Canton. Felt that what I saw in Hilliard was more in line with that. I could put out paper cardboard boxes, put those out when you roll out a special event. If City Council decides to just do this on special events, I'll probably recommend that we get cardboard ones and put them out there with cardboard signs attached to them. Because we're going to be rolling them in one day and taking them down the next day. But if it's something that council decides that they want this to be open on a rolling basis, on a Wednesday through a Friday, or whatever it is that they decide, that might be the more appropriate approach, is to put out something that's good. Is that a problem that we have containers out there that people can throw their trash into, regardless of whether they're drinking or not, as opposed to throw it down on the ground? I don't know. It seems to me there's some benefit to that there, but there is a cost to that. Put that in the budget as a result, because we thought that the door was going to go forward. The council would move on it, so we wanted to be appropriate and put some monies in there. And if I think that number is approximately correct, that I think Mark had put out there about 20,000, could be the number, but that's on the higher end. We have to see what we go out and shop the marketplace and see what the best alternatives are. Each community does something a little different. In downtown Canton, they have cement concrete ones that they leave out all the time, regardless of whether there's a door or not. They have them everywhere, inside the door and outside the door, just as a place to put trash. So I think those are all the questions that were raised that I wanted to respond to, unless anybody else had something different.
Pat, Dom,
yeah.
The trash cans, like, so, the doors say a mile long. How often do we have to put a trash can at what corner? Do you know?
Well, we should put them, and I did, if you guys would look at the map that was part of your packet, I think we color-coded green dots or some colored dots to indicate approximately where I thought a trash receptacle should be. But suffice it to say that, if you look at the major intersections that go along this street, you are going to want to have one at each one of those major intersections. So like, if we just start at Maple and head north, it's certainly at Maple. But when you get up to, on the other side of the Hoover property, what used to be a street there, technically still a street, but it's been undedicated. And then you come to I think it's church that's next. That little street there that wouldn't warrant having one. But then when you get up all the way past the church, I think you come to Howard or whatever the next street is there. Yeah, you would need to have one there. Because that would be on both sides of the street. So if Maple is on the east side of the main and on west side of Main, one on each side. But basically one at every major intersection. And my rough count, I had put that down on that map as was required under the sanitation plan.
They're the orange triangles on screen now are the proposed locations. I know you can't see that, Director, but
yeah,
for everyone else.
Yeah, that's the idea. And as far as, changing, the hours and days of operation, the council has that at their discretion at any time, can do that. Lengthen it, shorten it, whatever. But to Mark's point, he's correct that on the geography of it, right now we're encompassing this area because yes, that's where those 4 liquor holders are. But if some of these establishments are coming in to town, perhaps another one comes in a shorter distance. It gives council then the opportunity to adjust the boundary.
All right, are there any other questions? Or
I have one
comments?
more. This is Stroya.
Yes.
Who sets the price for the Dora cups? Is it the liquor control or is it us?
Generally, it's going to be us that sets the price on that, so that the intent is to, over some period of time, recoup your costs. So obviously the cups are pennies a piece, and if you're charging $1, then every establishment that would put that glass of wine in that cup, that $1 has to be charged, and that $1 has to be accounted for back to who would do that, who would keep the record of that and what we're doing with that money. And their communities have done different things that can come to the city. It can come to the CIC. I've seen it done where it's gone to the chambers of commerce. It's just whoever wants to administer that program. The city can contract that out. So it's flexible.
Makes sense. So I mean, if the concern is $20,000, we can charge $3 or $4 for a cup till that's paid, and then we could adjust it again. So I mean, I don't see the $20,000 being a long-term issue there.
Well, keep in mind, that this is still largely a function of market economics. And if you're going to charge $3 for a cup, chances are you're not going to sell any wine that's going to go outside.
Sure.
If it's $6.95 for the glass and you're going to add $3 onto it, probably not going to see a lot of action. So that's why I think from what I've seen in other communities, the cost of the cups, they don't mark them up outrageously. But $1 is seems to be the norm. You don't have to make it all up back in 1 year. I mean, the cost of the cans are pretty much front loaded. Once you have them for a while. So over the course of time, you can get more back as the program grows in popularity. And if it doesn't grow in popularity, then we don't use them. To me, the multi-purpose on the cans, if let's say the council went down this road and we did it, tried it for a year, whatever, didn't like it, said, no, bad experience, don't want to tweak it. Now what do we do with these cans? I can use quality trash receptacles in our park system.
Yeah,
until we have enough. So I don't think placing them would be an issue.
So we have really nothing to lose by doing this other than the initial investment and the opportunity for businesses to have more options. And again, I don't see them tracking up and down the street like a bunch of activity. I see really more congested areas of activity together, on an outside where it's safer to interact with COVID or whatever the case may be. And then if we have like activities, little concerts in the park, different things like that, that's where I see it even being, maybe 3-4 times a year more active, where we would have a lot more activity, people participating. But it's creating the atmosphere, I think, for what the long view is for the city of North Canton, which is to try to create a little bit of an interesting, safe vibe for downtown. We have a safe little community, a great place to live, convenient, affordable, and this will just kind of add to the toolbox. That's all.
All right. Is there anything else that, in terms of discussion regarding the ordinance in general, that we need to consider at this time?
I'm good.
If not, Ben, would you pull up the amendment that I've proposed, please? That's section 7. Here's the current language for, Ben just had it. Section 7 gives us the operating hours, and I've done a little research, and what I'm going to propose tonight is that we modify section 7 to read as follows by amendment. Here we go. Ben, do you got it? There's the current language right there.
No, the yellow highlighted is the new.
Yellow is the proposed. What we're going to do is operate the Dora Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm looking at this because it really reflects what some of the other communities have done. In other words, it's not necessarily wide open. It's contained. And I think that may ease some concerns. Are there any comments about that? I mean, is this something that warrants adjusting the ordinance?
I think it's okay to start with, and then we see how it goes.
Okay.
And we make adjustments accordingly.
All right.
I like that idea too.
Okay. Anything else?
My only concern about that is, what about when we have like the Main Street Festival that hits on
Well,
Sunday?
I think we can do that. I can change this to Sunday, or I thought about that we would just say or by mayoral designation, special days by mayoral.
That would be good.
And don't forget, they have to have the cups. So if you're not selling the cups that day, the likelihood that many people have them, it just wouldn't be. And again, I think it goes back to Daryl, how you said, and I've seen it downtown. It's not an abuse of alcohol. This is just a way to encourage business, to encourage people to stay there. It isn't, yeah.
Like a lot of times they'll say you can't go outside.
Oh,
unless
yeah.
You have it, so it's more like you got to stay in the establishment. Well, then that kind of makes people more claustrophobic. So if you have the option to hang out in the parking lot or the sidewalk or wherever it is appropriate to the setting is how I want to see more flexibility. That's where I think it needs to be. Is it going to happen immediately? Probably not. It'll happen over time. But again, I'm looking at the long view, not in the next year.
So once you institute this wording, that means that the trash cans have to be out every week from Wednesday to Saturday. So they'll be there permanently, not just for special events. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the signage will be out as well.
On the trash can.
Yes.
And the trash can are going to be like those wrought iron looking ones, right? Patrick?
The black ones, they're like a steel powder coated black. Looks like wrought iron has that look.
Similar to the streetlights?
The black like the street lights. They're that color. They're that powder coated.
Yep.
Yeah.
They will complement
They
one
come
another.
in color, but that.
Black's classic.
All right. Any other comments or questions? If not, then I would propose an amendment to Section 7 to read as it does before you in the yellow and green. Is there a motion to amend the ordinance to read as Section 7?
Foltz.
Could I get a little clarity on that, please? The motion was by Foltz and the second was by Stroya.
Stroya seconds.
Very good. All right. Now, can I have a motion? Oh, I need all in favor of the amendment? Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Very good. All right. May I have a motion then to adopt the ordinance as amended?
Foltz moves.
5520 as amended. It's been moved.
Stroya
Is there a
seconds.
second? Stroya seconds.
Stroya seconds. Yep.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Shredder opposed.
Okay. Measure passes 6-1. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Because President Peters has handed me the chair, I'm going
Would you like to have
exercise
the
a
reorganizational meeting?
little bit of liberty here. And I hope, Mr. Tripp, I hope you're on and can hear me loud and clear.
Vice President Revolt, it's a special meeting, so we're not allowed to amend the agenda.
Where I'm not amending it.
Okay.
Before I adjourn, I'm going to make a comment on the public speaks. The fact of the matter is, our rules prohibit disparaging comments. Certain individuals have displayed historically and recently behavior that borders if not crosses the line on disparagement.
Go get it.
And I think those individuals who are crossing or bumping up against the line should not make excuses for their behavior. When they employ the term "you" or they name a member of council, they are setting themselves up for a violation of our rules. And if you're going to criticize members of council and bump the rules, then you should be prepared for a response. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Peters.
Moved, is there a second?
Bolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
We're done.
Have a nice Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you,
Happy
guys.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.